So it looks like we finally have gotten an update on when Gervonta Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach is going to happen. A fight that was announced that it was going to be December 14th in Houston mysteriously was never officially announced. Both fighters had posted about it, talked about it. It looked like it was happening December 14th in Houston at the Toyota Center. Then PBC, which is the promoter for the fight, never made an official announcement. Venue issues is looking like the reason why this fight has been postponed, but it looks like we finally gotten an update for when this fight is going to happen. But first, make sure you like this video, comment below who do you think is going to win this fight, and subscribe to the Never Drop podcast as I got all your boxing news. But back to this rumor. A rumor's been circulating for when we're getting Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach, a fight that not a lot of people were fans of, and that's why it's kind of died down. People were thinking this fight was happening in December. I haven't heard a lot of people even mention it because there was no official announcement. There was no press conference. Even though Tank Davis responded to a fan on Twitter one day after he posted this fight, they asked, hey, when's the press conference? He said next week. Next week came, there was no press conference. But the rumor as of right now is it's looking like March 1st in Brooklyn, New York at the Barclays Center. I've seen a few different journalists, boxing insiders talk about this. As you can see on the screen, this is Jake Donovan. He said that's what he's been hearing. Numerous boxing insiders saying this is the date the PBC is doing and where the fight's going to be located. Again, March 1st in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. I think that's a very wise decision considering that both of these guys are East Coast guys. I don't think having the fight in the South in Houston really makes much sense. A lot of people are saying, hey, why doesn't this fight be in DC? Tank being from Baltimore. I believe Lamont Roach is from DC, or if not, the DMV area. But I think a good compromise is the Barclays Center. I think it'll drive a good crowd. Obviously, it's Gervonta Tank Davis. People are going to come out and watch. But having it on the East Coast, we see how much that plays a factor. Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney, that was in the Barclays Center. Didn't do great ticket sales because they're West Coast fighters. So being close to your region matters. And then at the end of the day, with Tank Davis, he's going to sell out wherever he is. But this was a fight that not a lot of people were fans of. And really, I can't be mad at them because we want to see Tank Davis against the elite 135-pounders, the Shakur Stevensons, the Lomachenkos. And if you want to go, I explained it why those fights weren't happening in the previous Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach video. You can go watch that. Hear what I had to say. Basically, we weren't getting those fights in 2024. I think after this fight, if Gervonta Davis wins, we will get Shakur Stevenson in 2025. That's just my opinion. That's something we'll talk about in another video. But a lot of people kind of forgot about this fight because they weren't a fan of Tank bringing up Lamont Roach, who's a champion at 130. I think at the end of the day, it was really his only option and kind of his only best option, as I think whether now it being an East Coast thing, East Coast fight, it'll sell, and the two have had history in the amateurs before. I think it'll help sell the fight. Obviously, not the fight we want to see Tank Davis in, but Tank Davis, he's going to get a fight before that Shakur Stevenson fight. There's no doubt about it. He was going to get another fight in. I'm kind of disappointed that this fight isn't happening at the end of 2024. Tank Davis, again, he had a 14th month layoff between the Ryan Garcia fight and the Frank Martin fight. Now he's going to have a 9-month layoff. I would have liked to see 2 fights in 2024 from him. I like to see 2 fights from the top fighters in all boxing in a calendar year. But it looks like March 1st is the date. A lot of talk that has been happening about this fight is Lamont Roach has been talking about, hey, Tank has a rematch clause. In case he loses, there's a rematch clause. I see a lot of people, to a degree, up in arms about that. Here's my opinion about it. If you're Gervonta Davis, you're not supposed to lose this fight. I'm favoring him heavily above Lamont Roach. So don't lose this fight, and there's no need to talk about a rematch clause. I don't have an issue with that being in the contract because a lot of times that's what happens with the A side. They put stuff like a rematch clause in case they do lose, get upset in the contract. So I'm not mad about that. But the easiest way for us not to talk about this is for Gervonta Davis to go out and handle his business. For Lamont Roach, hey, I'm trying to upset the world. I'm not even worried about a second fight because I got to find a way to win the first fight for the second fight to even happen. So for me, the rematch clause, I couldn't care less about. I know a lot of people like to talk about stuff Tank Davis puts in his contracts, whether it be rehydration clauses, rematch clauses. At the end of the day, the fighters are going to get in the ring. Lamont Roach is going to accept that contract, and we're going to see Again, March 1st at the Barclays Center, a fight that I know a lot of people aren't psyched about, but it could turn into a good fight. We're going to see officially any announcements coming up soon. I don't know when officially this will be announced. It seems like it should be sooner rather than later. I've seen a post, Gervonta Davis, members of his team talking about they're in camp, so he's getting ready for the fight. Obviously, we have the holidays coming up, so we'll see if PBC is trying to roll out their entire Q1 schedule. As you got Benavidez versus Morrell scheduled for February 1st. Wonder if they'll roll out any other fights. A lot of their fighters have been inactive. 2024 wasn't the greatest year for PBC on Amazon Prime, but all the reports say they should be more active in 2025. So we might get a formal announcement with all this information coming up very soon. At the end of the day, we love to see our top guys in the sport back in the ring, and it looks like Gervonta Davis is going to be back in the ring, back in Brooklyn for the first time since he knocked out Rolly Romero. Fight that had all of Brooklyn buzzing. Again, not the greatest opponent. Tank still brings out people and does records wherever he goes. Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach, looking like it's going to be March 1st in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. Again, comment below whether or not you're even happy with this fight happening, and if so, who do you think is going to win this fight? Like this video, subscribe to the Never Drop podcast for all your boxing news. That's all I got for you. Peace. I'm out.